What is up, everybody? Today we are talking all about macros. So I'm super excited that you are here and that we're going to be diving into your fitness and your goals and your nutrition and your training in the gym and all of that really cool stuff. But the most important thing when it comes to weight loss or seeing changes in your body is definitely your nutrition. So you always hear the saying like you can't out train a bad diet, which is 100% true. So if your nutrition is not really dialed in and really under control, you're not going to see the changes and the shape that you want your body to take. So it's super important that we not only learn how to count our calories, count our macros, and track our food, but that we sustain this process after we're done working together. So what my goal is with this video and with this guide and with whatever program that you're participating in right now is to teach you and give you the necessary skills that you need so that you can make smart decisions for the rest of your life when it comes to your nutrition. You know, this isn't just like a 8-week thing or 6-month thing or whatever. It's learning how to make sustainable changes for the long term, okay? So we are going to go all over macros, how to track your food, and everything like that under the sun right now. Okay, so you've probably seen it out there on the internet. You've definitely seen it by now because this is the method that we are using to do nutrition. And that is macros. If you're like, what the heck is macros? How do I track macros? That's totally okay. You are in the right place. We are going to go over everything in this video, okay? So when people say macros, it's just a short-term way of saying macronutrients. In all of the food that we eat, we have macronutrients, and those are fats, carbohydrates, and protein. All of your food is made up of those three elements and macronutrients, okay? We also have micronutrients, which are like our vitamins and stuff like that, but we are only going over macros right now, okay? With macronutrients, it's also going to be very important that we're counting our calories. Okay, now counting calories alone is also okay because in order for you to either lose weight or body fat or gain weight or body fat or muscle or whatever, you're either going to be needing to eat in a calorie surplus. That means you are eating more calories than you're burning every single day. Okay, or you're eating in a calorie maintenance, which means week after week, you're pretty much burning and eating the same amount of calories every day. Or you need to be in a calorie deficit. If you are in a calorie deficit, week over week, you will lose body fat, you will lose mass, and being in a calorie deficit, so burning more calories than you are intaking, that is the only way to see weight loss. The only way. So when you see diets out there and you're like, oh my God, keto or gluten-free or paleo or intermittent fasting or whatever, and you're like, I wonder if that diet will work for me. The common denominator that all of those diets have is that they are all putting you in a calorie deficit, okay? For keto, you take out carbs entirely, right? You rely on fats and proteins, and by taking out an entire macronutrient group, then you get into a calorie deficit. With intermittent fasting, you are decreasing the window throughout the day, the time frame which you're allowing yourself to intake calories. So you're also in a calorie deficit, most likely, okay? So we're not doing either of those or any of those diets. We are learning how to track our macros so that you guys can have flexibility with your diet. You're not cutting out any major food groups or macronutrient groups. You're still going to eat carbs. You're still going to eat fat. And you can still drink alcohol occasionally if you want to. Like, wow, you know? So that's why I love counting macros so much, because while it does take a lot of precision and it might seem a little overwhelming at first or monotonous to have to track all your food, it does allow for flexibility and it allows for a sustainable approach after, over a long period of time. All right, everybody, so let's get into it. Right now, we are learning how to track your macros 101. And if you have never tracked a macro in your entire life, that's totally okay. we're going to go over everything right now. Now, mind you, you might need to re-watch a couple parts of this video to really fully grasp this concept. Also, I will say that you always have access to me to answer any questions that you may have. And it's going to be a learning process, so don't expect for this to be perfect right away or for you to completely understand everything right away. It's going to be a work in progress, and that is totally fine, okay? Let's dive in. Okay, so we already talked about this a little bit, but let's go over exactly what are macros. So macros is just a way of saying macronutrients, and I want you to fully grasp the concept that every single thing that you eat every day is made up of macronutrients. Okay, so macros are the carbs, fats, and proteins that make up all of the food that you eat every single day. So when you hear people say tracking macros, you know what we're going to be doing with tracking our macros. All it is measuring the amount of carbs, fats, and proteins that you consume every single day, okay? With that, I want you to know that not all macros are created equal. We have carbs and protein, which are each going to have 4 calories per gram. And then we have fat, which is going to have 9 calories per gram, okay? So just by nature, we are going to eat less fat in grams than we do for carbs and proteins because fat is a higher calorie source per gram. We're just going to eat less of it. And you guys will see exactly what I mean later on. But just for right now, I want you guys to pay attention to the fact that we're going to be tracking our carbs, our protein, our fat, and our calories that we consume every day. So how do you know what your macros are? Not everybody's macros are going to be the same, and in just a little bit here, I'm going to give you guys an example from my own macros, but obviously it makes sense that for a person like me who is about 5'2", who is 27 years old, and who weighs about 130, 135 pounds, it makes sense that my macros would be different from a bodybuilder who is a male, who is 40 years old, who is 6'5", right? So we're going to have different caloric needs. We're going to have different goals. We're going to have totally different numbers. So it's very important that we take into consideration a lot of things here. What's going to matter a lot is your height, your weight, your age, your previous history with working out, your previous history with dieting. Those are all things that you've already answered for me, and I'm going to take all of those numbers into consideration when I am writing out your macronutrients for you. So you do not need to worry about calculating your macros. I am going to calculate them for you, take into consideration all the info you provided me, and spit you back out the numbers based on a calculation that I'm going to do, okay? But it will be up to you to measure your food, to track your food, and to input it into MyFitnessPal, and to be as accurate as you possibly can with that every day. So just as a quick example, here's me eating some donuts. Don't worry, guys, I don't eat donuts every day, but I just like this photo. So my current macros are listed below. I'm eating 1,800 calories, 120 grams of protein, 180 grams of carbs, and 65 grams of fat. Those are the numbers that I'm aiming to hit every day. Now, you definitely shouldn't compare your macro numbers to my macro numbers. We're going to be different. That's just how it is. But I wanted to just give you a little example of what I eat, what I'm aiming for every day, so that you know that your numbers are going to look different from this, but you will have your calories, your protein, your carbs, and your fats written out and prescribed for you. Okay, so how should you track your macros? What is it going to take for you to be able to accurately track your food intake every day? First of all, I already let everybody know that you're going to need to be buying a food scale if you don't already have one. I would also suggest buying measuring cups, buying tablespoons, and all of that so that you are able to measure all of the food in all of the different ways that you can measure food, right? Some food you're going to measure by grams, some by cups, some by ounces, some by liquid ounces. So you're going to need to have all the tools that you possibly can to accurately track your food. So that's how you're going to be measuring your food. Now, how are you going to be tracking your food every day? We are going to use the mobile app MyFitnessPal. So if you don't already have that on your phone, go ahead and download that right now because we're going to be in MyFitnessPal every single day. That's where you're going to input all the food that you eat, and that's where you're going to have your macros stored in there so that you can make sure you're hitting your numbers every day, okay? Now, guys, you must weigh out and measure your food, okay? You absolutely have to do that for the time being in order to see the results that you want to see. This is not the time for guessing or eyeballing your food, okay? Do I recommend tracking macros rigorously for the rest of your life? No, that's not sustainable. But right now you have goals to reach, so it's going to take a lot of effort from you, okay? Later on is the time where you can eyeball things, where you can, kind of use your palm or whatever, but right now you have to weigh and measure your food, all right? It does take effort, but this is a method that you can use for the rest of your life, and if you're doing it accurately and properly, it 100% will work. Okay, so we're going to go through 3 different examples here. Now, remember, we already said that different foods you're going to track different ways. Some you'll measure in cups, some you'll measure in tablespoons, some in ounces, some in grams. So you're going to need to know how to kind of go back and forth between all of those things with the different food you're eating. So let's go through the example of lean ground beef, as you can see right here. This is from Trader Joe's, and it's organic ground beef. It's 85% lean, 15% fat. Now that just means that it has 15% fat in this particular cut, I guess you could say, of beef. There's ones that are leaner, that are like 95 lean, 5 fat, that aren't going to taste as good. But remember, you can do whatever you want as far as like the type of meat, just different meats and different foods are going to have different numbers, so it's up to you, okay? So for 1 serving size of this lean ground beef, what I would do is I would cook the entire thing. I would cook it on a stovetop, and I would use a 0-calorie spray to cook it in so that you're not adding calories with oils or any butter or anything like that, okay? So once you have cooked it all, then you're going to measure out your serving size, and this will be in ounces, okay? So once I've got my food all cooked up, I'm going to measure it out. It might be 3 ounces that I'm having with that meal. It might be 6 ounces that I'm having with that meal. That is going to be up to you guys to determine and plug and play the numbers with your macros to decide how much of each food you're going to get with every meal, okay? So once I have all of that cooked, I'm going to put it into MyFitnessPal. So once I have the app pulled up, I'm going to go in, I'm going to search for the organic lean ground beef from Trader Joe's, and I know that I have already input this in before, so it's going to pop right up there on my screen. Okay, there sometimes might be multiple things that pop up there, so you guys are just going to have to look through them and see which ones match the label that you have on your food, okay? So we can see right there, it's the same numbers that I had before, 240 calories, no carbs, 17 fat, and 21 protein. So with the meat, that's probably the most confusing thing that you guys will do because you do have to cook all the meat first, and then you have to measure it out and input it into MyFitnessPal, and you have to make sure that you're not adding extra calories to it or anything. But with a lot of things, it's going to be more simple than what we just did. So let's do this next example with just a packet of brown sugar maple oatmeal. So once again, I'm going to open up MyFitnessPal, the app. I'm going to click breakfast because I probably am having this for breakfast. I'm going to search the exact wording of what the food is, okay? So maple and brown sugar, Quaker oatmeal. The brand does matter as well, you guys, because not all brands are going to have the same macros, right? You want to make sure that what you're eating is exactly what you're inputting, okay? So I'm putting the exact words in. It's going to pop up right here, and it's going to be that very first one, and we can click on that, and then we can see that indeed the numbers are the same from the box and in MyFitnessPal. So we know that we've chosen the right one here. Okay, and this is very simple because all it is one package. You just have to eat the entire thing, and then you know that those are the right numbers. So last one I want to show you guys is an example of something where you might be actually changing the serving size that is listed on the nutritional information, okay? So we've got some broccoli here. Now, the serving size that's listed is 0.8 of a cup. We're just gonna make it even and we're gonna do an entire cup of broccoli. It's really low calorie and it's high in fiber and it's gonna fill you up. So there's no need to measure out an eighth of a cup because it's harder to measure, right? It's easier for you to just measure the entire cup. So we're gonna do that now. Okay, so once again, I'm gonna open up the MyFitnessPal app. I'm gonna go down, I'm gonna put it in for dinner. You might have it for lunch or dinner. I'm gonna do the exact brand. I think it's Green Giant Broccoli Florets. If I messed it up here, it's because I didn't put florets and it's not gonna come up. So it's really important that you guys do the exact thing of what's on the label. So there it is right there, and there's one that's in grams and one that's in cups. I'm gonna click the one that's in cups just to make it easy. I'm gonna click on the serving size. I'm gonna go down and change it to 1 cup, and then it'll update the numbers right away. Okay, so then I can just press the check mark and we can see that we're eating 1 cup of broccoli. Okay, everybody, so that is it. That is the basics on how you are going to track your macros. And there's a couple things that I want you to keep in mind. Remember, it's going to be a little bit of a learning process to weigh, to measure your food. Maybe some of you aren't great at cooking. I personally am not. So all of that in mind, it's going to be a learning process to make sure that we get things inputted, measured, and accurate when we're tracking our food, okay? Remember, you have so many resources that you can also use. You can look back through this video a couple times. Okay, you can definitely dive into MyFitnessPal and start playing with it. You can go and mess around with your food scale and see what it's like to measure something in grams versus ounces. And I want you guys to use this time to explore and to learn and to refine this process, okay? But throughout this entire thing, we're gonna have many moments where we'll check in together and where we'll have other tools that will help you with this entire process, okay? So I hope this video was super helpful for you and it helps you think about your food in a way that is a calculation. Because in order for you to reach the goal that you have to have the right calculation with your food, okay? Thank you guys so much for watching and I'm really excited for you. See you later.